The world before Adam, it was not remembered. Adam had no knowledge of that world. But there was one in the garden who did. In the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 it says, "In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth." Now the earth was void and without light. And watch this, there's going to be a prophetic foreshadow of the end times, how this is made. Because we'll find that the cycle of the earth in which mankind has is not the first time. And these points will be very clear when you see this. First point is that the earth was void and without light at the time before Adam was created. Genesis chapter 1 verse 2 and 3 continues on and says, "And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, Let there be light, and there was light." So we see that the Lord had placed man in a garden, right? And created man after everything was already had been made void, and that the serpent was already there and well aware of what has occurred and what will occur in the future. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 1 through 5, we see that the serpent actually knows what has occurred before and what will occur later, and that's because he existed prior to Adam's creation. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made, and he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the trees which is in the midst of the garden God hath said, You shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said unto the woman, You shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And so this is a new earth, right? There's a new heaven and a new earth for Adam, the first time. So Adam did not know what happened prior to Adam, and so this was a new heaven and a new earth for Adam, a new paradise, a new garden, right? But the serpent that was in the garden, he knew about the world before. Because Satan has seen this before, because it's not the first time. The serpent knew what occurred prior to Adam's creation, and he tempted Adam and Eve to rebel so that he could take back dominion over the earth. And this is exactly what he tempted Christ with, to get dominion with Christ and his throne while Christ was on the earth. Matthew chapter 4, verse 8 and 9 says, And again the devil taketh him up unto exceeding high mountain, and showeth all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and saith unto them, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. So we see here that the devil has dominion over the earth, and he's trying to get Christ's throne in heaven by getting Christ to bow down and worship the devil in exchange for the earth, that he would end up inheriting a throne in heaven. And this is not the first time for the dragon, and this is why he knows that his time is short in the end, because he's seen these things occur before. The entire earth cycle of the creation, from it being made void, stripped of light, everything occurs just like it occurred to the world before, of the world of the dragons, the dinosaurs. The world that was made in the image of Satan. Revelation chapter 12, verse 9 and 12. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So the devil knows how the Lord's going to bring judgment and close out the world in its cycle. How does he know this? How does he know that his time is short? Because he's seen this occur before with the world that was wiped out prior. This is why people look to the extinction of the dinosaurs, how this occurred, how the earth was made void. How did all these dinosaurs die? How did all these dragons of the world die? Well, there was an asteroid that hit the earth, right? Isn't that what occurs in the end times in the Revelation? As a warning. Revelation chapter 8, verse 8. And the second angel sounded, and as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and a third part of the sea became blood. And so what else occurs? And then was not the cold-blooded animals stripped of the sun to make it dark and the earth void? Revelation chapter 6, verse 12. And I beheld, when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. So we see that the sun is stripped, and it's made black. Blackness. Can dinosaurs that are cold-blooded exist on the earth if the sun is stripped from them and earth is sitting in darkness? No, they can't. They're cold-blooded animals. That's why the polar ice caps froze over. It's very clear when you read the prophecy. But it continues on in the book of Amos. Chapter 5, verse 20 says, Shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light, even very dark and no brightness in it? So the earth appears to sit in darkness and be void, right? Isn't that what Jeremiah prophesied will occur in the end? The same thing as it was in the beginning? Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 23 says, I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void, and the heavens, and they had no light. Well, when this occurs, it's the same exact likeness of before it was with Adam, before Adam was existed, right? And so who sees these things? Satan, the devil, the dragon of old. And he knows that the time is short because he's seen this occur before Adam was created with that world that was before, that was destroyed and wiped clean, that has no remembrance of it, but man looks to the bones and goes, I wonder what that is. But the devil knows. The devil knows. Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. For 1,000 years he's put into the blackness of the pit. For 1,000 years. So when Christ returns, the devil's going to be obviously chained up for 1,000 years in darkness, sitting in darkness in that void of darkness, right? Revelation chapter 20, verse 2 says, And he laid hold of the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. It is after this that he's let loose again, knowing that a new earth and a new heaven is about to be created. So what he does is he quickly tries to get and gather the people again to surround Jerusalem to put an end to it so it could be stopped, because he knows that what's going to occur after that 1,000 years is the 8th day, where all flesh is cut off like the circumcision on earth, and a new heaven and a new earth is created. Another cycle of creation will occur. Revelation chapter 20, verse 7 says, And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. So we see that after that 1,000 years is when the new heaven and new earth is created, after the great white throne judgment. Revelation chapter 20, verse 11 says, And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. So this is what? Heaven and earth fleeing away from the face of the Lord at the day of the great white throne judgment after the 7,000 years, right? The 1,000-year reign is the 7th-day Sabbath, and after that 7th-day Sabbath, Satan's let loose for a short season, tricks the earth, and they are destroyed. And then there's the great white throne judgment, which is the beginning of the 8th day, where the circumcision of all flesh is cut off from the earth. Very simple. And a new heaven and a new earth is created. Revelation chapter 21, verse 1. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. So we see all the likenesses of the things that occurred in the world before, when the dinosaurs were wiped out, when Adam inherited an earth that was without form, dark and void, and it was absent of life. And then a new heaven and a new earth were created, that the Garden of Eden was created, and paradise of God. This will occur again after the 7,000 years. Satan knows that, and that's why he knows his time is short. We see that in the book of Revelation chapter 21, verse 1. It continues on after the great white throne judgment, in a continuation of Revelation chapter 20 at the end of that chapter. And we see then it talks about a new heaven and a new earth. That's an addendum to that chapter prior. It was just created in a new chapter. But that's an addition to what would just occurred. That's why you see new heaven and a new earth mentioned, and then you see in verse 20, verse 11, the face of heaven and earth fleeing away. This is an addendum to the end of Revelation chapter 20. They should have put it, obviously, in Revelation chapter 20. They put it in the first verse of Revelation chapter 21, verse 1. And so we see that the new heaven and new earth is created, in which then men will watch over the new creation of heaven and earth for the next thing as watchers, just like the angels watched over the creation of us, and just like Satan from the world prior watched over us. It will go on, and it goes on forever and ever and ever and ever. This is not the first time, and it won't be the last. It's forever and ever. Isaiah chapter 66, verse 22 says, For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain. And this is the earth, that is the new earth, which Adam inherited, which is the old world that belonged to Satan. And the new earth that will be created will be the old world of ours, that the new creation will have no remembrance of what occurred from this point forward at the 7,000th year being ended. And this is the prophecy of Adam's earth.